India-Canada standoff. There has been yet another Khalistani provocation in not just one but two places. Khalistani protesters rallied outside the Indian Consulate in Vancouver this time, calling for the closure of Indian embassies in Canada. They also staged protests outside the Indian Consulate in Washington, D.C. in the United States. Khalistani provocation once again coming to light, this time in Vancouver in Canada, where they're not just calling for a shutdown of the Indian consulate, but similar protests that they're also staging outside the Indian consulate in Washington, D.C., escalating this to the United States as well. Amandeep is joining us live on the broadcast to give us more details. Amandeep, first up, what has been happening on the ground? And needless to say that the Canadian government is doing nothing to stop these elements. But it is not just Canada. They are now escalating this to the US also in their capital state, Washington, D.C.
Well, absolutely, Swesha, and in fact they are protesting outside the Indian consulate with the flags of the Khalistan and in fact with the posters of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, the Khalistani terrorist and in fact the chief of Khalistan Tiger Force, and in fact they are openly announcing to shut down the Indian consulates and even raising the slogans against Prime Minister Narendra Modi, against India, and in fact the pro-Khalistani slogans as well. So this is all happening in Canada, in US, in European countries, in United Kingdom, and even several other countries also, just because the day Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, has given the statement that the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar was there were certain allegations against Indian government for the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. From that point, from that day, that turned out to be the trigger point from these pro-Khalistani elements. And in fact, they are continuously protesting outside the Indian consulates. And in fact, now they are in the impression that Canadian governments are facilitating these kind of elements. And that is the reason they are campaigning in all the countries that, look, Canada has supported their movement. And in fact, that is the reason they have escalated their protest in the several countries as well. So Washington, D.C. is another protesting site where outside the Indian consulate, these pro-Khalistani elements are protesting, but a heavy police deployment is quite visible outside the Indian consulate as well, just because they are protesting on the one side of the road and they are not allowed to move other side of the road where the building entrance gate is existing. So this is how their escalation of pro-Khalistani elements is turning up in the several foreign countries, just because the governments are not halting this exercise of these Khalistani elements and even supporting governments like Canada are supporting these movements, and that is the reason they are getting more and more support and they are provoking more and more people on the foreign lands. Yes, Swisha.
All right, Amandeep, thank you for those details. We have to slip into a very short commercial break. Also, a quick check of the big stories we're tracking on the other side.